Have you ever stopped to think that inside your own refrigerator there might be a silent enemy capable of putting your health and your family's at risk? It may sound like an exaggeration, but it's not. What you store with such confidence, believing it to be safe, may hide dangerous substances linked even to cancer. How many times have you heard someone say, "Oh, if it's in the fridge, it won't spoil," or even, "Better keep it in the fridge so there's no danger"? Is that really true? Could this common habit actually be poisoning us without us noticing? And before you think this is a myth or a conspiracy theory, let me tell you, serious organizations, like the International Agency for Research on Cancer, classify certain items you have in your fridge right now in the same risk category as cigarettes. That's right, Group 1, proven to be carcinogenic to humans. Moreover, studies with over 500,000 people, conducted by the UK Biobank and the US National Institutes of Health (NIH), show that consuming just 50 grams daily of one of these foods increases the risk of bowel cancer by up to 18%. That's scary, isn't it? But stay calm. Today, you'll uncover the truth behind these hidden dangers and, more importantly, learn how to protect yourself. And stay with me until the end, because I'll reveal the most shocking food of all, one that almost everyone consumes, and you'll never look at it the same way again. Before we dive into the content, let me introduce myself. My name is Kenji Oshiro, and this is the Global Health Guide channel. If you're not subscribed yet, take a moment now to subscribe and ensure you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Now, let's get straight to the point. To understand how we got here, we need to take a step back and imagine what life was like before the invention of the refrigerator. Just over 150 years ago, keeping food fresh was nearly impossible. Our great-grandparents fought a daily battle against food spoilage. Meat, for example, had to be covered with heaps of salt, hung in the sun, or dried on clotheslines. Even so, the risk of food poisoning was constant. In the United States, wealthy families spent small fortunes to buy huge blocks of ice, frozen rivers. This ice was stored in wooden cellars and kept food fresh for a few days. But there was a gruesome detail. The ice would melt and mix with blood and food scraps, creating a bacterial soup with a horrible taste that often made people sick instead of protecting them. It was only in 1876 that Carl von Linde introduced the world to the first mechanical refrigerator. It was a revolutionary device, but it cost the equivalent of an entire house. Today, on the other hand, you just press a button for instant ice. Open your fridge door and you'll find fresh food even after weeks. It's a true technological miracle and has undoubtedly saved millions of lives. But pay attention, this same marvel, when used incorrectly, can slowly harm your health, because there are things that, when stored improperly in the fridge, turn into real poisons. And I'm not just talking about spoiled food, I'm talking about dangerous chemical substances that form inside foods under certain conditions. So, throughout this video, you'll learn about 7 common foods in your refrigerator that hide serious health risks. I'll reveal each one, from the least surprising to the most shocking, saving the item that might completely change how you view food for last. To start, let's talk about food number 7. It seems harmless, is part of most families' diets, but can become dangerous depending on how you store it. I'm talking about potatoes. It might sound strange, but storing potatoes in the refrigerator is a habit that significantly increases the risk of forming a substance called acrylamide. Let me explain simply. When potatoes are stored at temperatures below 8 degrees Celsius, like in the fridge, their starch turns into reducing sugars. So far, so good. The problem comes when you fry, bake, or grill these potatoes at temperatures above 120 degrees Celsius. At that point, these sugars react and form acrylamide, a substance considered probably carcinogenic to humans. Here's an alarming fact. If you leave raw potatoes in the fridge for just 3 days, acrylamide levels can increase up to 6 times. This means that, without realizing it, you might be exposing your family to an unnecessary risk. The Brazilian Health Agency, Anvisa, and other international health organizations already warn, do not store raw potatoes in the refrigerator. The ideal is to keep them in a cool, dark, well-ventilated place above 10 degrees Celsius. A pantry, cabinet, or even a wooden box works. It's a simple adjustment, but it makes a huge difference for your health. If the potato already surprised you, get ready, because the next mistake is even more common. I'd bet that right now there's at least one open can in your refrigerator. Maybe it's a can of corn, peas, tomato paste, or even tuna. Here's the problem. Storing open canned foods in their original can is one of the biggest mistakes you can make. When the can is opened, its metal lining, usually made of tin, comes into contact with oxygen and the acids in the food. This combination triggers a chemical reaction that releases tiny metal particles into the food. This can even alter the taste, that metallic flavor you've probably noticed before. But the bigger danger is chemical contamination. And it doesn't stop there. Many cans still have inner linings with a substance called BPA or bisphenol A. This compound is known as an endocrine disruptor, meaning it interferes with your body's hormonal balance. Studies show that even small amounts of BPA can cause issues like infertility, testosterone changes, metabolic disorders, and even increase the risk of certain cancers. So the rule is clear: once you open a can, never store the food in it again. The recommendation is simple and practical. Immediately transfer the contents to a glass jar or a BPA-free silicone container with a tight lid. This small action prevents heavy metals and chemicals from seeping into your food. But if metal contamination already sounds scary, wait until you understand what happens when you store food leftovers for too many days in the fridge. That's our item number 5. Have you ever opened the fridge and found that pot of rice from 2 days ago or a bit of leftover beans forgotten in the back? The temptation is strong. It smells fine. It must be okay. But the reality is that old leftovers can be an invisible trap. Rice and beans, for example, are perfect environments for the growth of a sneaky bacterium called Bacillus cereus. It's silent. It doesn't change the taste or smell of the food, but it releases dangerous toxins that can cause intense vomiting, diarrhea, and severe food poisoning, and the risk grows over time. Studies show that the chance of contamination nearly doubles after 5 days of storage in the refrigerator. This means that week-old rice might be loaded with toxins, even if it seems normal. The ideal is to consume leftovers within 3 to 4 days. After that, don't take chances, throw it out. It's better to waste a little food than risk your health and your family's. The ideal is to consume leftovers within 3 to 4 days. After that, don't take chances, throw it out. It's better to waste a little food than risk your health and your family's. Now, if storage time is already a critical factor, imagine what happens when food is stored in the wrong place inside the refrigerator itself. That's the mistake with food number 4, and it involves something that seems so harmless that most people never question it. Eggs stored in the refrigerator door. Notice this. Practically every refrigerator comes with a compartment made to measure for eggs, right there in the door. But that's actually the worst place to store them. This is because the door is the area that experiences the most temperature fluctuations. Every time you open and close it, the eggs are exposed to constant thermal changes. And this environment is perfect for the growth of the Salmonella bacterium. Salmonella is no joke. In Brazil alone, according to Anvisa data, over 10,000 cases of salmonellosis are reported annually. Symptoms range from severe abdominal pain and diarrhea to serious cases that can lead to death, especially in children and the elderly. Studies indicate that storing eggs in the refrigerator door can increase the risk of contamination by up to 25%. The solution is simple. Store eggs on the middle or top shelf of the refrigerator, always in their original packaging or a well-sealed container. There, the temperature is more stable and cold, ensuring much more safety. So far, we've seen how simple mistakes, like storing potatoes in the fridge, keeping leftovers too long, or placing eggs in the door, can create serious health risks. But the next items are even more surprising, because they involve dangers hidden where you least expect them. Let's start with food number 3. You've probably heard that glass is the safest material for storing food. After all, it's inert, doesn't react with food, and can be reused. And indeed, glass is one of the best choices. But there's a detail almost no one notices. Glass jars with painted labels or colored enamels directly on the surface. Many glass jars you reuse at home, like those for tomato sauce, hearts of palm, or preserves, come with designs, measurement marks, or colored labels baked onto the glass. These details may seem purely decorative, but they hide an invisible risk: heavy metals like lead. The problem arises when you store acidic foods in these containers. Homemade tomato sauce, lemon juice, vinegar, ceviche, all these foods react with the enamel in the paint, causing lead to migrate into the food. And lead is no ordinary substance. It's an extremely toxic heavy metal that accumulates in the body over time. It can cause irreversible neurological damage, affect children's development, cause anemia, and even increase the risk of serious chronic diseases. The guidance is clear. If you're reusing glass, always choose completely smooth and transparent containers, without any paint or enamel. If you opt for ceramic, use only those certified for food use. A simple change, but one that protects you and your family from heavy metal contamination. Now, if that detail already seems surprising, wait until we get to food number 2. This one isn't hidden in packaging or labels. It's consumed directly, is part of the daily life of millions of families, and, according to the International Agency for Research on Cancer, is classified in Group 1, proven to be carcinogenic to humans. We're talking about processed meat. Sausages, ham, bacon, salami. They seem convenient, tasty, and even indispensable in some meals, but regular consumption of these foods is directly linked to an increased risk of bowel cancer. Studies involving over 500,000 people, like those from the UK Biobank and NIH, confirmed that consuming just 50 grams of processed meat per day, equivalent to 2 slices of bacon or a hot dog, increases the risk of colorectal cancer by up to 18%. And what's even more concerning, on average, people consume 47% more than the safe limit. In other words, we're exposing ourselves to a daily risk without realizing it. It's not just about fat or sodium. The danger comes from additives used to preserve these meats like nitrites and nitrates. Inside the body, they can turn into compounds called nitrosamines, which are highly carcinogenic. So, the recommendation is clear: reduce processed meat consumption as much as possible. Opt for fresh meats prepared at home. It's not easy to change habits, I know, but when we think that every choice at the supermarket can directly impact our health and that of those we love, the change starts to make sense. And now we come to food number 1 on the list. The most surprising, the one that's probably in your freezer right now, wrapped in seemingly innocent packaging, the polystyrene meat tray. It may seem harmless, but that polystyrene is made of polystyrene foam. And within it is a substance called styrene, classified as possibly carcinogenic to humans, Group 2B. The big problem isn't just the material, it's what happens when meat is stored for a long time in it. Research from the FDA in 2014 and the Center for Environmental Health in 2024 showed that residual styrene slowly migrates from the polystyrene into fatty foods, like meat. This means that the longer the meat stays frozen in the polystyrene tray, the more styrene ends up on your plate. And it doesn't stop there. Scientific journals like Food Additives and Contaminants have recorded traces of styrene in the blood of entire populations, resulting from constant exposure to plastic and polystyrene packaging. Now picture this. You take the tray out of the freezer, put it straight into the microwave to defrost, with plastic wrap on top, at maximum power. At that moment, 2 poisons are released at once: styrene from the tray and phthalates from the PVC plastic wrap. Both act as endocrine disruptors, with the potential to cause serious health damage. The good news is there's a simple and practical solution. Remove the meat from the polystyrene tray as soon as you get home from the supermarket. Immediately transfer it to smooth glass jars or silicone containers. This habit drastically reduces contamination and protects you from unnecessary exposure. So let's quickly recap. Today, you discovered the 7 silent dangers hidden in your refrigerator. The potato, which forms acrylamide when stored in the fridge. Open cans that release heavy metals and BPA. Old leftovers that accumulate dangerous bacteria. Eggs in the door, vulnerable to salmonella. Painted glass jars that can release lead. Processed meats proven to be linked to cancer. And finally, the polystyrene meat tray, which releases styrene directly into the food. These facts may seem frightening, but the truth is they empower you. From today on, you know how to protect yourself and those you love. You don't need to live in fear of your refrigerator, but rather learn to use it correctly. So let's quickly recap. Today you discovered the 7 silent dangers hidden in your refrigerator. Potatoes, which form acrylamide when stored in the fridge. Open cans that release heavy metals and BPA. Old leftovers that accumulate dangerous bacteria. Eggs in the door, vulnerable to salmonella. Painted glass jars that can release lead. Processed meats, proven to be linked to cancer. And finally, the polystyrene meat tray, which releases styrene directly into your food. These facts may sound frightening, but the truth is they empower you. From today on, you know exactly how to protect yourself and your family. You don't need to live in fear of your refrigerator, you just need to use it correctly. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these items surprised you the most? Leave your answer in the comments. And if this video helped you, give it a like, share it with your family and friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the Global Health Guide channel for more life-saving tips.